been a couple months since we hit Assassin's Creed on this channel, but it is still an important topic to me. And something interesting that I've been noticing with Assassin's Creed is the structure of the series has fundamentally changed a little bit. Now, if you do remember, they did lose the head of Assassin's Creed, essentially. Mark Alexis Cote, I'm sure I always pronounce his name wrong, but it is what it is. He was pretty much forced out of his position at the company a little while back. And it really was forced because he even went so far, I believe on his LinkedIn, and I'll leave some sources here as well on this because I don't want to lie to you guys, but he went so far as to really almost word for word imply that it was not his decision to leave, that he was happy where he was, and that he wasn't, expecting to have to look for another job. So that happened, and they changed hands there. They also had the huge influx of money from the Saudi Arabian government and all of that stuff, right? And that's something we've seen as well, is a lot of areas in the world trying to put money into different entertainment ventures to either make them their own or to try and change things. We even saw it as well with EA. With the EA buyout, a lot of people are quitting. A lot of Sims YouTubers are ditching that series. A lot, whatever you think about it, there's a lot of things changing because a lot of money is being thrown around that is fundamentally affecting the structure of certain gaming series, and Assassin's Creed is one of them. It's actually the reason why we got that whole Valley of Memory DLC for Assassin's Creed Mirage, which, full disclosure, I have not had time to play, which is why I did not make a review on it. I didn't want to BS you guys. But it's interesting to see that that might also be affecting Assassin's Creed Shadows a little bit. And there's a lot of information going on, people saying it's being abandoned, people saying Ubisoft already ditched it, mainly because of all the stuff around Yasuke and all of the different controversies. There might be some truth to that, but we're going to talk about it today for a couple minutes, and I do have a question of the day for you, which is what you want to see from Assassin's Creed going forward. Like, do you want to see these big game drops that are like RPGs and then DLCs for them, like story-driven DLCs? I think a lot of people want to see a return to what the series used to be, but I don't really expect that. And Ubisoft has been very non-communicative with some of their choices lately, even with Assassin's Creed 4's remake, which is supposedly launching during 2026, and they've still said nothing about it. But there's been almost too many leaks from insiders and people close to the company for it to be false. So when we're looking at Assassin's Creed Shadows, there's a lot of people asking, now wait a minute, is Ubisoft abandoning this game right now? Are they moving on? And the reason that they're asking that is because these big Assassin's Creed games recently have had this structure, the big ones, not Mirage, have had this structure of dropping the game, then over the course of a year or two dropping a couple of huge DLCs that are these big story expansions that they get more money out of, get more people back playing the game. Not only did they buy those DLCs, but they buy the cosmetics around that to play with something else. And it's obviously treating a game in a middle point between finished game and games as a service, where you drop a full game, but then you add on to it more and more, except instead of the Bethesda style of like Skyrim, Oblivion, stuff like that, you also have an in-game shop that you're pushing with this as well, right? Ubisoft is content-brained in that way. They're pushing it as single-player DLC, but also as a service. And it looks like that's not happening with Assassin's Creed Shadows. It looks like Shadows is pretty much not getting anything like that. Now, it did get one thing. It got one big update, which was the whole Claws of Awaji thing, which, obviously was this big update to add on to the game. It was a big type of DLC. But the thing is, that was actually free because the game had been delayed, and it had seen all this controversy and all these different things, right? They decided to make that free. Now, where have we seen that before? Where there was a story DLC expansion, it was planned to be charged by Ubisoft in an Assassin's Creed game, and then the reception to the game, because of choices they made, ended up making them say, you know what, never mind, it's free. Where did we see that last? Assassin's Creed Unity. Isn't that interesting? That this is following the same path that Unity took. And you know what's funny? Like Unity, I would actually say that this game, and some of you might disagree, I thought it was pretty fun. Now, was the story perfect? No. But I didn't find it to be like this preachy political thing that people were acting like it was when Yasuke was announced. The whole time I always said, no, okay, this is historical fiction, regardless of what they say. It's always been historical fiction. Unless they go crazy with something, I'm not going to be too upset. And for me, with my experience with the game, they didn't. Now, I spent a lot of my time as Naue because I really, really liked her. I thought she was a great character and she was more interesting to me. But even during the times where I was playing as Yasuke, doing certain things like hidden tombs that I was, had to do as him, or even trying to do different, what were the forts, essentially, the whole fort system. And I was going in and I was saying, okay, how would this be different using him than her? I was having a fun time. So even with the character I didn't use as much, I still really liked the gameplay style. I thought he was interesting. I thought his story was interesting. And yet, what's happening now is after that free release, they did just come out and straight up say that they don't have any plans of a second major Assassin's Creed Shadows expansion. But what's interesting was that previously that had been hinted at, and it would have formed part of the season pass that they ended up throwing out. Now, there's a whole article you can look at on IGN about this, which again, it will be in the sources down below, but it was actually from official sources. The game director, Simon LeMay, and I don't know how to say the rest of his name, Comtois? I know a lot of these people are French, so I apologize. But had said, as of now, at this moment for year 2, there's no expansion on the size of Awaji that's planned. But here's the thing. They did also throw in caveats. He was saying, okay, well, there wasn't the whole plan for the Valley of Memory for Mirage. And then that changed because of the funding that came into the game. So that was something where it totally changed. So they don't know, essentially, if there will be more or not. But right now, there's no plan for more on that scale. Now, does that mean that they're abandoning the game? No. You know how I know that? Because they literally just released an Attack on Titan crossover for this, which is probably not gonna make some people happy. I know there's people like me where it's like you bang your favorite action figures together in your hands and you're like a kid again. It's fun. It's probably one of the reasons why I enjoy a game like Fortnite with all these crossovers. There's a lot of other people who are like, oh geez, just get Assassin's Creed back to where it was around the time of AC2 through 4. I'm sick of the RPGs. I'm sick of all these different varying game types. I'm sick of all the big DLCs. Whatever. I think, though, with this, it's not surprising to me. Like, IGN was trying to make the case that this is some kind of big surprise. Like, it's really surprising that they're moving on from doing this huge DLC. Is it? They had to delay this game quite a bit. People were ready to lampoon this game before it came out. And I think part of it is that this game was coming out at a head of the woke versus unwoke conversations. And it seemed like pretty much everybody was losing nuance in those discussions. Like, it wasn't even hitting a point anymore where we could have something that, had maybe a diverse cast. If it did, it was just called woke immediately. And it also was feeling like it was hitting a point where no one would want to write something like that. They just had to take it to an extreme. So it's like both of these extreme viewpoints were kind of clashing. We were heading towards an election again in the United States. Like, there's a lot of things that led to this extreme backlash online around Assassin's Creed Shadows. And one of the big things that they've done is not talk that much about Shadows since it launched. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I have. I like this game. I genuinely do like it. Is it my favorite? No. Will it ever be my favorite Assassin's Creed? No, I don't think so. I think for me, my biggest complaint about this has nothing to do with Yasuke. It has nothing to do with, any of that stuff. It has to do with something like repetition of the game loop without enough variation. Like, for example, the fact that almost every base felt the same, even though they were fun. After doing like 10 of these things, you get bored. The fact that it didn't have enough to do, in my opinion, with the hidden ones or with the Assassin's Brotherhood or any of these things. Like, that stuff's in there, but it just wasn't there enough. And it didn't feel like it was enough in the spirit of leading to those things and giving you the history of them, like something like maybe Odyssey or Origins was. So those are my big problems with the game. I'm sure there's more. But I do think the idea that they're just totally abandoning the game is false. If they were, they wouldn't be bothering to release these things like the Attack on Titan crossover. And they didn't say that there's no content. They said there's no expansion the size of Claws of Awaji planned. Not that there's no content planned at all. That said, I think that something we do need to get back to is an understanding that the game is big enough and good enough on its own when it launches, no matter what it is, and has enough quality that it doesn't necessarily need these things when it comes to Assassin's Creed. Like old Assassin's Creed games, you never needed the expansions to feel like it was a complete experience. And so for me, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking they're not abandoning it, but it is not going to be what they planned originally. I don't think they ever expected the backlash they got. I think they expected it to do a lot better. And I think in general, as far as I can tell, games like Ghost of Yotei probably did at least as good as this without the Assassin's Creed brand behind it. And so they're kind of looking at that and saying, how do we get out of this situation? Maybe instead of drawing more and more attention to Shadows, we should just move to the next thing. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I'm interested to hear those. If you enjoyed this video, you want to leave, like, subscribe, support us in the various ways. We always do appreciate that very much. I do make Assassin's Creed videos on this channel when there's something that interests me, and I actually have a pretty lengthy playlist on here. If you're interested in checking that out, I always do appreciate that. We also have our own store that you can support us on, cosmobunny.shop, where we sell one-of-a-kind items for one-of-a-kind people like you, coasters, keychains, trays, and more, all made from repurposed, recycled paper from books that had been damaged, and also resin. We're keeping these books out of landfills, using a small piece of them transformatively to create something new, and recycling the rest. That's discount code DJAY123 for 10% off your first purchase. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shway.